background is that I grew up, I was born in the States, but I actually grew up in Korea, in Seoul, Korea, which is a totally different system from the US. Everything, educationally, culturally, language, everything. And I always had the unique perspective of being an outsider, which I think always infused me having a little bit of a perspective, a little bit of distance, not always being in it. As a teacher, I always come in and I give as much as I can, but I leave. It's always the group, that show, those actors that will remain to be in touch and grow together. So in that sense, I was maybe the catalyst for people to come together. And I will probably, I will go back to, unless I get kidnapped and I decide to stay here. So we will do some exercises that we would do in our class at Yale. I cut my teeth in New York. So I was at the New York theater stage. And I had very amazing mentors who were very politically and also socially very involved artists. But after that, the reality that was not apparent to me when I first went to America, that I was a minority actor. Mm-hmm. This was a very odd experience for me, so I have a different perspective with most of my colleagues. A lot of my colleagues feel that they were marginalized growing up. But for me, I came from Korea. Everybody's Korean, does Shakespeare in Korean, and they're Korean. So why is your problem you cannot see me as Juliet? I don't understand this. So I came from a different perspective. I said, that's your problem, that's not my problem, that you are not global. So I need to still do my work. New York, for me, is not that cutting edge or that interesting for me, theater-wise. Film is a totally different story, so we'll touch that. But it is an absolutely melting pot, but still, it's very interesting because you have to have history and then characters and people who write the play and then who perform the play. This comes much later. So if historically it's predominantly European white coming from New York, there's a lot of English and British revivals and Irish revivals. I'll never be able to really play those roles. Neither am I really interested. So there's very few cases, but we're talking about the top shows. So there, African American theater has been very powerful. They have August Wilson. There are many great directors, but also I joke with my best friend from Yale, and who's a black man, and our education and our experience was the same. His opportunity is 10 times more than for me.
Because of his color?
Because he's a man, and because he's black. If anything, if all else fails, there will always be a fellow character for them to play, and you must have opportunities and characters to practice in order to become great. So there will always be a great black male actor, because there is a character, Othello, that is being played. So after being at a very, very high functioning level of theater in New York, I realized I had two journeys. I would have two big ways to go. I had to do my own work, which you'll see tonight, and write and be more European tradition, creating, touring, doing that. Or I needed to go to Hollywood. And a lot of my filmmaker friends at the time, young filmmaker friends, was like, Esther, you should go. You're not attached, you're fully trained, you know, you're visually commercial. You can do it. So, you know, you're pretty, you can go. You're not ugly, which is not true. You can, because in a way, actually, again, I know my category for Hollywood. I'm not the chubby, funny girlfriend to the lead. If I were in that category, I probably would have worked more. But my category is I'm a leading woman. I'm not saying this because, you know, I'm not saying that. There's certain, you have to know your type in Hollywood. Here, I play all 4 characters. If I do that in Hollywood, they get very, very confused. Oh, what's going on? And, you know, they can't deal with it. They can't even deal with me being a writer and director and doing all these things. So, in Hollywood, at least I know, that's why I usually go for drama, I don't do comedy. In a way, Hollywood is more diverse than the theater because it's more current. And so I went to Hollywood and I did a number of TV shows and commercials. And then I started creating my own work. So in a way, I've kind of come back to where I started from. And now I feel very fluid. But that's just briefly my professional background. So unless you have a dying question to ask me, anybody? Otherwise, let's get up from our chairs. I know this is the first time for some of us to do something like this, so we'll just experiment, so just go on your own. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, I have another funny excellent story.
When my daughter was at FBI Academy in Quantico,
She had this firearms instructor who was Italian.
And she has terrible English.
he got worse when he was excited.
So one day they were doing shooting target exercise.
The fake bodies are coming toward the students.
And Chiara got scared.
She froze when she had to shoot.
So the Italian instructor screams,
Chiara, what are you doing? Throw your gun.
And Chiara got confused, and so he took out the gun and threw it to the target.
Oh no, he meant draw your gun, draw.
she still should have known. Silly Chiara.
I know I also have accent.
But I am fluent in English. I even write poetry.
And probably know better English than most American people.
But people don't know. They see me and they say,
She's so cute and round and funny. She has funny accent. They think everything I say is stultiloquy, foolish babbling. Stultiloquy. You didn't know the word either, did you?
Next, please.
Even though the majority of this tape recording is a North Korean man speaking,
I think that we can come to the conclusion that this is your voice, Mrs. White.
The Washington office intercepted this conversation June 12th, last year, while we were in Seoul.
I listened to all your phone calls you made to find out where your reception with Mr. President Kim has been held at. And I don't know.
Phone calls to flower shops and bouquet to your high-powered friends. And what not.
And we usually don't track or bug our informants' phone calls. But what is extraordinarily confusing and startling to me is that you are speaking to a North Korean man.
Why will you be doing that?
And who is this Comrade Song? So fondly refers back to as Comrade Park?
For the purpose of this investigation, you need to speak in plain American English.
person.
You've clearly never been in love, Agent Park, have you? Might be hard for you. You act as if you are a man. With that short, shuffled hair, deep voice, a strange accent. Do you really think men find that attractive? Do your FBI colleagues really take you more seriously just because an Asian woman is pretending to be like a white man?
And then you turn around and then whatever your character choices are. So be mindful that, especially for camera work, it's all the reaction shots. Do people know the very famous John Wayne quote? Just listen. My best acting came from listening. So if you watch a lot of John Wayne old Western movies, it's all about the reaction and and theater, it's a little bit less because it's live and you're always paying attention to the person who's talking or the action, but not necessarily so. You become, of course, a very good actor when you're the one listening and reacting truthfully, because that's when the audience goes, oh, and it hits them.
You remember your first meeting, what you were wearing, your pink short dress, and your beautiful black hair. And what do you remember of him? What?
You clearly never been in love at the park, have you? It might be a little harder for you. I mean, you are a German, short, shuffled hair, deep voice, with that strange accent. I don't think men find that attractive.
Listen, your English is very good.
Thank you.
Pinpointing that part out, which was not something that I had seen before. So very good. Excellent. But I love this quiet, small, little petite Italiano girl. So cute. I am going to read you. Yes, I like that. And your hair has to be. If you don't have destination as an actor, you're very lost. You don't know what you're saying. So the destination, even though there was only one chair and one desk, I always had to know very specifically, or my director would know. She was like, well, where are you going? I'm like, I don't know. This is the most that we will be speaking, okay?
I'm a little bit schizophrenic.
But you're Italian.
Well, you know, it was my first time for a workshop that wasn't even in Italian, so I mean, it was a completely new experience.
And what do you take away from it? One thing that was the strongest for you?
It was, you know, there are some subtle differences in the way, I guess there are in the way in which you approach the text in comparison of the way we approach it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's because of the different structure of the language.
Or maybe just a question of
Yeah.
the intonation of being in, having a good command of the language, where you just, it doesn't come natural, because I mean, like, people who speak a foreign language, I mean, don't necessarily, I mean, not immediately, don't necessarily have feeling of the language. So having to perform, think of the language, think of what they're trying to say. I mean, there are a lot of elements that you have to think about, and the intonation is very different in English. So I mean,
I have no idea, not being able to speak Italian.
What about Korean?
You got tones?
No,
As in
Korean
Chinese,
does not
Chinese,
have tones. Only Chinese has. The structure is completely different. So if I were to say that, it's actually not translatable immediately the way Italian would be in a way closer. So I don't know what I would actually tell my students. I've never taught in Korean. And it would probably be different. And at least with this script, people have asked me if I can do it in Korean. I cannot, because I wrote it in English for English immigrants. That's the whole point. So that's always been a very interesting, funny problem to have. But in general, I would say no, not even in general. English for sure, the verb is very, needs to stay active. And a lot of times it gets a little bit muddied. And if you don't know who was murdered, or then in the text you'll lose it. So it is a heightened kind of way to look at the text as an actor. And every day I wouldn't necessarily say, oh, you weren't activating your verbs. I didn't understand you. I wouldn't say that.
So I think you put a stronger emphasis on the verbs than we do. I'm not sure about it. I'm just guessing. You know.
Okay. I
So-
don't know about that.
I don't know either. I was just guessing, you know, just wondering if I'm right or not. So
Does anybody have an idea about that? Cindy, do you know if the Italians don't stress their verbs as much?
Yeah, I think we are more on adverb and adjective.
whether you know, since in Italian adjective and adverb convey a bit more information, because we have different cases for male, female, plural. So I mean, so it might be, you know, but I don't know.
That's something I'm going to...
I don't know, you know, I was just wondering. So.
I will have to ask Dorota. Sylvia.
Okay, if you got the answer, please.
I will let you know.
Let me know, please. I'm very curious about other people's opinion on it.
Just in time. I remember that this was a lesson that we get in the summer school at Yale, that there was they were saying that the Italians, especially, or the Latin-speaking people, they were first. This is the way that they would speak.
Also with the end.
And then, like, they got to the point in this way. So first, and whilst English was like duck. So that was something that actually changed completely my way that I communicate, like doing presentation and at work and so on. But then when I went to the rhetoric of academia in Italian, I was kind of, my professor said, no, I mean, you're much better when you're doing lecture in English. And I was like, well, they're clear. People understand exactly what they want, so I couldn't understand. So that's really a different, also theoretical beliefs behind how you have to speak in a nice way. So
it's more flowery. What I'm understanding is more flowery in Italian,
kind of.
And doesn't get to the point immediately. There needs to be a little bit more of a setup.
No, that's not a little bit more. More you're able to do the overall flowery. That's how you're good in speaking. Not just to communicate directly the point.
It's a show off.
Yes.
Yes. I see.
Exactly.
I see.
But, I mean, more importantly, I'm so amazed, as just an English speaker, a mother tongue, I'm so amazed and I have so much respect for everyone in this room because English is not your first language and you've managed to memorize a script in a second language that is not your own, perform it on stage, make it believable. I mean, I believed everything I heard up there. It was really beautiful. I have so much respect for everyone here. I'm in awe. I'm amazed.
I totally second that.
So, compliment.
I've never seen the great Esther on stage, so
great. I like that. That's gonna be my new name.
Esther impersonerà 4 personaggi femminili e insieme sfiorano molti temi particolarmente, come dire, dibattuti nell'America contemporanea, e quali sono ad esempio i problemi dell'America post 11 settembre, la tortura e la lotta al terrorismo, e man mano anche a tanti altri temi molto più universali, quanto i problemi di identità nazionale, le questioni di alleanze tra paesi, i problemi invece che ci sono all'interno della famiglia e del ruolo femminile. Quindi 4 personaggi sono strettamente di natura coreana e nordamericana. Questo dibattito tra la Corea a sua volta sono personaggi che sfioreranno la tematica ovviamente della scissione tra Nord Corea e Sud Corea. Cosa è successo? La Corea non tanto noi in Italia la conosciamo, in realtà è un paese relativamente vicino a noi in termini anche economici e politici, hanno uno sviluppo economico piuttosto simile all'Italia, una specializzazione tecnologica simile, tanto che proprio in questi giorni, caso vuole, si sta aprendo un accordo di libero scambio con questo paese. Per quale motivo? Perché comunque anche l'Italia, come la Corea, è una penisola e pertanto ha una funzione strategica in certi periodi storici ha svolto. E anche questa posizione strategica di penisola crea anche una fase di isolamento, e l'isolamento rafforza l'identità culturale di una nazione. E questo, come di una nazione antichissima, ha comunque 3.000-4.000 anni di storia, in cui ad esempio uno dei lunghi periodi della Corea, grandi periodi tutto sommato di pace, sono durati dal 1300 fino al 1910, un impero indipendente dalla Cina, con alcune influenze cinesi ma tutto sommato indipendenti, e dal Giappone. Quando nel 1910 la Corea viene invasa dal Giappone, diventa un protettorato giapponese. I giapponesi hanno creato in Corea una colonizzazione molto forte e violenta, negando la lingua coreana e tutto quanto, ma soprattutto hanno portato, dopo la seconda guerra mondiale, la scissione della Corea in 2 parti, no? Il Giappone ha perso la guerra, e una cesura proprio al tentodesimo parallelo. La Sud Corea, traduzione un po' in inglese, scusate, la Corea del Sud, capitale Seul, e la Corea del Nord invece sotto l'influenza comunque sovietica. E quindi 2 paesi in taglio come è successo essenzialmente in Germania, no? 2 paesi, 2 storie completamente separate, 2 modelli di sviluppo molto diversi. E quindi anche questo un taglio ovviamente di famiglie, di culture, quindi vedremo un personaggio che è Catherine, che è un'attrice nordcoreana che però è esiliata nella Corea del Sud, che è un informatore dell'FBI. Sua figlia Mina, di 12 anni, è metà coreana e metà Caucasian American, e questo è un altro termine abbastanza interessante, vuol dire americano bianco, e poi una agente americo-coreana dell'FBI che capisce che Catherine è una spia, e comunque ha un forte confronto con lei, anche se condividono tra l'altro lo stesso cognome, quindi c'è anche questo gioco complesso dei cognomi. E poi l'ultimo personaggio che interpreta è la vecchia mamma dell'agente Park, la signora Park, che è come persona anziana, anche nella tradizione coreana, in qualche modo molto tagliente, e in qualche modo ricorda i temi fondamentali della vita, e anche in questo modo ricorda la guerra di Corea, no? La guerra di Corea che dal 1950 al 1953 ha in qualche modo insanguinato la penisola coreana, e in effetti questi problemi non sono risolti. Se adesso d'ora in poi darete un'occhiata, spesso sui giornali ci sono i problemi dei conflitti della Corea del Nord e della Corea del Sud, qualche tentativo di fare armi nucleari, tentativi di questo genere. Bene.
Oh, I didn't tell you. My daughter is FBI agent, Federal Bureau Investigation agent. I like saying that. It sounds very... China, but then in South Korea changed to Park Hae-kyung. Made a name in the U.S. was anglicized. So that's what I did, Joss. Do you know what they do to people like you now? A traitor, an informant, a potential terrorist, post 9/11? Title was also very embarrassing nowadays. But anyway, and John Yu, he is a professor at Berkeley? He's not professor. I am a real professor. He's a terrorist. He terrorized the mind and humanity. And I wish Jiyoung, my daughter, could just put him into jail.